Stars of football. And tonight is our legend segment. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we got a legend, a Georgia Savannah legend, an Atlanta Falcon legend, and an NFL legend. Andrew Provence, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Bobby. You're too kind. You're a true legend.
Oh, listen to you, man.
And I'm just thrilled to have time with you.
Well, listen, man. You and I go way back in the day. You were a rookie in 1983, which was my third season. And so we were pretty much puppies at the same time growing up in the league, but we got a lot to talk about.
Okay.
So let's start with it, man. I mean, you came to, you were a third round draft choice out of the University of South Carolina to the Atlanta Falcons. And what was your position? Were you considered a nose guard or a tackle, D tackle coming out?
Yeah, tackle. I think what happened was, this is a whole nother story, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about my rookie year, the year I was drafted,
Mm-hmm.
the final roster, and back then, I think it was only somewhere between 49 and 49 man roster.
Right. Uh-huh.
There were 16 or 17 rookies on that final roster.
Oh, wow, man. Amazing.
Yes. And so that all that to say is that the new coaching staff had switched from a 3-4 defense to the 4-3. So I was brought in as a 4-3 tackle.
Man, that's all. Hey, listen, it's amazing. I got to ask you some questions because I know how it was for me. And I got to ask you some questions because when I came to Atlanta in 1981, the team was kind of like an old team, right? I mean, you had Barkowski, you had Wallace Francis, you had Alfred Jenkins and Note, Mike Ken, all those guys were Warren Bryant. They're all drafted like in the mid-70s, and we came at the turn of the 80s. I came in 81, you came in 83.
Right.
I mean, was it like a culture shock to you from college into the NFL, especially with the older group of guys?
Yes, it was a big culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was so thrilled to be drafted by the Falcons and really don't know why they were making so many changes that training camp, because your team had been so successful the 5 or 6 years prior to 83. And I thought, my goodness, the Falcons. But you mentioned Warren Bryant. When I visited the Falcons locker room for the first time, I walked by his locker and saw a pair of his shoes. And I almost turned my contract in and went home that day.
Hey, listen, for y'all who don't know, and most of you don't know, the gentleman he's talking about, offensive lineman, right tackle from Miami Beach, Florida, who played college at Kentucky. Matter of fact, we just lost him last year, almost a year ago now. He wore a size 18 quadruple E shoe. So think about that, like 4 times wide and a size 18.
I had never seen a shoe like that on a real person.
That's amazing. So now, but when you came in, though, you came from a pretty good college program. You played at South Carolina, who 2 years previous of your senior year, you had the Heisman Trophy winner on your team, George Rogers.
Right.
You had some great players because I think it had to be your freshman year, Andrew. We played you guys in Tallahassee. We were both undefeated, South Carolina and Florida State, and George Rogers was running the ball, and that was an experience all in itself to play against a monster like George. Man, he was an amazing player. So, were you on that team that year in 1981?
Yeah, I was. Well, actually, let me see.
That was 1980, right? That was 1980.
79.
79. That's right.
And that was my freshman year.
Okay.
And I did get to travel. I wasn't playing much, but just soaking that in, being in your stadium. And George almost did not play that night because back in those days, you would turn all the lights off in the stadium, and you would bring the Seminole warrior in on his horse with a flaming spear. And I was standing right beside George Rogers on the sideline, and that warrior put that spear in the ground, and George just looked around and said, I am not in the right place. He said,
It's amazing. He shared that story with me. Man, he had me crying in tears, man, when he told me that story. But man, what a great player. I mean, you had some great players on that team. I remember the tight end, Willie.
Willie Scott.
Willie Scott. Am I heard right? Did he just passed not long ago?
He did, yes.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
We're losing too many.
We're losing a lot. I played golf with him maybe about I'm going to say 2, maybe 3 years ago in a golf tournament, and I never forget in the game standing next to Willie. And I've never seen a tight end that big in my entire life, right? And I'm probably at the time, Andrew, about 145, 150 pounds, right? And he was a real man in college, right? So it's like, whoa, hopefully I don't have to tackle him tonight. But but you guys played some really good ball at South Carolina. And tell me your experience in college.
Yeah, we did play good ball when we weren't playing Florida State. Because I think the 2 times that we played Florida State during my time at South Carolina, I think you guys, it was probably like 100 to combined points. Wow. But anyway, I grew up in Savannah, and at the time, South Carolina was the closest major university to Savannah. It was about 140 miles, under 3-hour drive. And my older brother was an offensive lineman. He was a team captain and MVP. And actually George Rogers actually said that running behind my brother gave him confidence that he could do this college thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
He was very much a run block mauler type player.
Wow.
And my sports, he was my sports idol, my older brother.
That's cool.
And then although I was recruited by other schools, he's the main reason I chose South Carolina. And he became the first full-time strength and conditioning coach right after I arrived. So,
oh wow, okay.
I know weightlifting doesn't always translate onto the football field, but I was always big into the weights, and that was due to my brother also.
Well, I tell you, I remember how strong you were when you came in as a rookie. How much you benched back in '83?
Oh, I mean, it was probably maybe right around 500 or maybe a little under.
Right. I remember you were right around there. Because I only know like a handful of guys in my life to ever bench 500. And it was you, Jesse Tuggle, and then Ron Simmons when I was in college. Ron Simmons was over 500-pound bencher. And then a guy who played at the University of Florida, who I played in the high school all-star game with, named Doc Lucky.
I remember Doc Lucky.
Yeah, Doc Lucky was a 500. I saw Doc Lucky in the Florida high school all-star game. We all played on the South team, and he was talking about he can bench 500. Of course, nobody believed him. And he went in the weight room. They put 500 on the bar, Andrew, and he said this. He said, "Now, what I want y'all to do," he said, "I want you to pick it up and ease it down. Just lay it on my chest." He said, "Just lay it on my chest." And so they picked it up. He had 3 spotters, 2 on the side and 1 in the back. They put it on his chest. Now, and then he just lifted off his chest. I go, that's a strong guy right there, right?
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Amazingly strong.
Amazingly strong. And you mentioned Ron Simmons. Was he a real person? I thought he was a myth. I remember I was in high school. He wasn't far. He was like a senior when I was a freshman.
Right.
At Warner Robins High School, and I thought, my goodness, he looked like an action figure.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the guy was cut up.
Oh yeah,
Andrew, you had a great physique. I mean, you were cut up, but this guy, I mean, we're in the same class. I mean, we were freshmen together, and I remember seeing him in the freshman locker room, and I'm down there getting my stuff in my locker. I'm the only one in the locker, and I see this big shadow come into my left, and I look, and it's Ron sitting there. He's in the locker. And I'm kind of confused because I'm going like, well, he's not a freshman. So I said, hey man, the upper class locker room is over there, and he didn't say anything to me. And so he's still in his locker. I said, well, man, how old are you? He said, I'm 18.
Oh my goodness.
That guy was probably the most crucial recruit in Florida State history.
Yeah.
I don't care what time frame you're talking about. We're all in the same class at Florida State, but he was a guy who came in immediately as a freshman and not just play, but play like on an All-American level. This guy was over a 500-pound bencher. I mean, he ran the 4.5 40, Andrew, and he would walk on campus as a true freshman. This is no joke. He would go on campus with no shirt on. And everybody stopped. The traffic would stop. People driving down the street. The students would just stop in amazement. I mean, he was a big dude, man. Great athlete.
Yeah. I want to say I recently heard a former pro wrestler, Lex Luger, share his story. He's got an amazing story. I think there's a documentary out on him now on the WWE Legends.
Okay.
It's really worth watching.
Wow, I got to check him out.
Yeah, and I think he might have been the one who encouraged Ron Simmons to become a pro wrestler.
You're going to wrestling? Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. And he said, hey, this is a good deal here. And I think he had Ron had a great career.
He had a great career. He really did. And I don't know exactly what he's doing in wrestling now, but he's still in the game in some kind of way.
Okay.
Of course he don't wrestle anymore, but he's still, got some business, whatever he does, with them, he's still doing it. But I tell you, he's just got that personality. I mean, he's always had that personality, but what a great football player, and what a great guy.
Yeah.
So Andrew, so your brother was the one who inspired you to play the game?
Yeah, because actually, I tried out for the county league, I think in 5th grade. I didn't even try out. I went for the first day to everybody weighed in, and I don't you couldn't weigh over 110 pounds.
Right. You
had to do the paperwork and everything. But while everyone was getting all that done, a bunch of guys started a pickup game out on the field, just a bunch of kids. And I got so scared and intimidated that I went straight to my parents' car and went home. I didn't play football.
That's funny.
I know it. But then with 6th grade, one of my good friends for his county team, the Savannah Bulldogs.
Okay.
He said, "You got to come. We need you." He said, "We need more linemen." And because I liked him so much, I said, "Okay." So I was a backup center. I learned how to snap the ball.
Okay.
And then my older brother was really coming into his own at Benedictine High School down in Savannah. And so I wore his number 60.
Oh, wow. So you were always a lineman?
Yeah, my 9th grade year of high school, I tried out for a tight end, and after one play, they moved me to defensive line.
Enough of that, right?
He just shook his head and said no.
Well, it's amazing though, because what I found out, Andrew, and I don't know what your experience is with this. Most of the guys that we played ball with in college, I was amazed when I went to Florida State. On our defense, I think we had about 5 guys who played quarterback in high school, right? And everybody, it's not just guys in the secondary. We had a defensive tackle who played quarterback. We had a middle linebacker, Paul Porowski, who played quarterback. Jeremy Millen was our defensive lineman who played quarterback. And, of course, we had me and Keith Jones in the secondary that played quarterback. And so I found out a lot of guys played different positions, right? I don't know if when you were in high school, that you played on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. But, in South Florida, you always put your best athletes on the field. So I know for me, I was a quarterback. I was a safety. I never played corner until I got to college. I was a safety. I was the punter. I was a punt returner. I was a kickoff returner. So the only time I went off the field was on the kickoff team. So I got one play off when we kicked the ball off, right? And then for extra points, I held for extra points and field goal. So what was your experience? Did you play both sides of the ball, though?
I mean, it sounds like, Bobby, you were the best player on the field. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone having that many roles every week in every game.
I did everything, man. As a matter of fact, my mom used to get angry. She used to get on my coach all the time. And I go, Mom, why are you my coach? You're playing too much. But I was having fun, man. I didn't see it that way, right? I mean, I was just having fun, right?
Well,
so,
I need to get back to you on this because I don't know if you shared it on this show or just the fact that you wanted to be a punt returner at FSU. But you were better at blocking punts than anyone Coach Bowden had ever seen.
Well, let me say this. I was the best punt returner Florida State never knew about.
Well,
and you know, so you remember Jack Stanton?
Oh yeah.
All right. So Jack coached us 2 years in Atlanta, and so he was my coach at Florida State. He was a DB coach, and also he was the defensive coordinator. So as a freshman, Andrew, now we had some great players. We had Bobby Jackson, and Bobby Jackson. He was kind of injured his senior year, so he had like a hamstring pull that he was nursing the whole year. But we had a guy named Nat Terry who was like a 4.3 40. But I'm looking at them return punts, and Andrew, I was convinced I'm going to get this job. I was so convinced, right? And so one day, I'm going down there every day catching balls. So one day, Coach Stanton met me halfway before I can even get over there. He said, well, Bobby, I'm going to tell you right now, ain't no freshman going to return punts from me. So he said, you might as well take your little, and he didn't say it quite so nice, take your little blankety blank on that end of the field and learn how to block kicks. So Andrew, I look down there and I see guys laying out. We had no pad, they were hitting the ground, face first, bam. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I went from in high school being a white collar football player because I was a quarterback. So I never got contact in practice.
Right.
So my freshman year in college, I'm a blue collar player. So I'm in practice diving face first on the ground, trying to block punts. But, it worked out. When you put your heart into something and you just play hard, it works out. And to this day, I'm still the all-time leading block kicker in Florida State history.
Exactly. And then the last block punt the Falcons ever had prior to this week against the Rams was you in 1990.
Oh, 1990. That's crazy, right? I'm going like, that can't be true. My buddies were texting me, and I'm going, that can't be true. I mean, that's been a long time ago. That's 32 years ago, Andrew.
It goes by fast.
Oh my gosh, 32 years ago.
But I do believe, Bobby, that Florida State do not know what they missed in not giving you a chance to return punts. Who knows what direction your career might have taken? But everything's got a reason.
And I believe that, Andrew. And here's what I believe. I believe the Lord knew better, and I probably could have got hurt down the road somewhere because I only weighed in college, 145 when I first got there, and then 155 when I got drafted.
Oh my!
So a lot of people don't know I was that small, but you couldn't get a lick on me. Right. And so I blocked kicks my freshman year, and then in the spring of my freshman year, the end of my freshman year, I'm returning punts in practice during spring, and nobody could stop me. I mean, every time I touch it in the spring, Andrew, I'm gone. Touchdown in the spring, I'm gone, right? Yeah. And so I get hurt in the scrimmage right before my sophomore year in college. We had a major scrimmage the week before the first game, and I sprained my ankle. And so I couldn't return punts. And so they took me off of that. Mm. And then as a junior, I'm really, I'm always a yes sir, no sir guy.
Right.
But when it came to returning punts, I was on Coach Stanton's behind every day. Coach, you need to put me back there. I'm the guy. Well, we got this. I said, Coach, they can't do what I do. And I'm just all the time, right? And I'm moaning so hard that he said this to me. I'll never forget it, right? He said, okay. If he don't do well in this game, we're playing the University of Miami at home. Yeah. If Gary Henry don't do good this game, I'll put you back there. And I was so happy, right? Because I thought, here it is. I'm getting ready to do it now. Well, Gary Henry took one and put it in the end zone. He took another one and ran all the way down to the 5-yard line. So after that game, I didn't even ask Coach Stanton anything. I didn't even talk about it anymore. I said, "Well, I'm blocking kicks now." Right?
Wow.
And so that's how that all ended. But yeah, that's a true story. True story.
That's amazing. I mean, and then you can't teach the vision and instincts that you have to return punts like you knew how to do.
Well, I tell you, it was
It might have been your protection. It might have been
It could
God's.
have been my protection, but it was a beautiful thing. In high school, I excelled
Yeah.
at it. It was just I loved it. I loved it, and I didn't. I loved that more than I love kickoff returns. I didn't like kickoff returns, but I love punt returns. Right.
Yes.
So anyway, so let's get back to you. So we, you go to South Carolina. You had great. You led your team in sacks. I think it was a school record. You had like 10 sacks in one season, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, those records have been broken, but yeah, for a little while.
Right. Cool, man. I mean you were getting after it, because I'm gonna tell you right now. When you look at defensive linemen, right?
Yeah.
The guys who are rushing on the inside, it's harder for you to get sacks than guys on the edge. Would you say that?
It can be, but I mean, I was, I won't even go into it, but the techniques that I used in college worked, but they did not work after college.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it is, you got to go through people on the inside.
You got to go through people. And then I know you're a strong guy, so I'm quite sure you can manhandle those guys in college. But when you get to the NFL, everybody's bigger, right? And just as strong.
Yep, bigger, great technique, longer bodies. You can't. They don't let you into their bodies.
Exactly.
Where when I was in college, I mean, looking back, I mean, we were. I mean, it was really crazy that our number one technique, and we did it every down of every practice, was to line up and take our helmet and to shock the offensive lineman with our helmet with as much velocity.
Right.
As we can on every play.
Right.
And that's not how you play football.
Not today, for sure.
No. And then that's the technique that I brought to Atlanta.
Wow.
And that all pro offensive line said this isn't going to happen at Falcons practice.
Well, I can't.
You remember, and that's why they went out and they signed Ronnie Lee and so that's who I had to line up over every practice.
Wow.
If you're going to headbutt somebody, you need to headbutt Ronnie.
Wow.
That was one tough hombre. He ended up playing 15 years in the league.
A long time.
Goodness.
Well, when you came in, you were right. I mean, our whole offensive line was basically all pros. You had Mike Ken. I guess Mike Ken was about 6'6", 6'7", maybe. How tall is he?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Maybe 6'7".
And he had those long arms and very athletic.
Right.
He was a consensus all-pro. You had R.C. Tillman, the left guard, who was an all-pro. You had the old man, Jeff, playing center. He was an all-pro, and then you had Dave Scott and you had Warren Bryant on the right side. And Junior Miller was the tight end, who was an all-pro tight end at the time.
Yeah, that was one of the most dynamic offenses ever to line up in the league. Ever.
I'll never forget. And we had that brute of a running back there, number 31 from South Georgia.
Oh yeah.
William Andrews. And so we had a pretty good offense. So all right. So when we talk about the culture, we talk about being a culture shock coming from college football to the NFL.
Right.
And then you're playing with guys. You're on the offensive line. I think you came in with the same year at Mike Pitts.
Right.
Yeah, and Mike Pitts was a first-round pick out of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You were the third-round pick from South Carolina, beefing that defensive line. And we had older guys like Jeff Yates. Jeff was still with us at the time, right?
Yep. It had Dog and Bone.
Dog and Bone. Jeff Merrill, Bone, and Jeff Yates was Dog. And we had Don Smith, right?
Yep.
Don Smith. So man, those were some old guys right there. I mean, those guys right there, different kind of breed right there.
Different breed. I mean, they are. they are 100% manhood all the way through. You don't mess with those guys. You better be on their good side
all the time.
and when they may not have looked at sometimes in the locker room as far as elite athletes, but my goodness, when they put that helmet on, I've never seen better defensive line play than those guys you just mentioned.
I'm gonna tell you, with Jeff Yates, when I first saw him, right, and I'm looking at him, right, he's looking all tough and mean. He looked like a pirate. I mean, he had a scar from here all the way down the side of his jaw.
Yeah.
And then when I saw him running, I was like, he can't lift his leg.
Right.
You know, it's almost like he was dragging one leg like a pirate. You know, like he didn't have a leg. But I tell you one thing, one of the biggest hits I ever remember in my life. It was your rookie year. We're up playing the Redskins in Washington. And it was late in the game, but I remember they're giving the ball to John Riggins. And all of a sudden I heard an explosion. Pow! And Jeff Yates, the dog, had hit him. And I'll never forget, he was face down in the dirt, man. He was face down with his eyes like shut like that. And then all of a sudden he opened his eyes and he said, "That's it for me today." He got off the ground and ran to the sideline.
Yeah.
We're talking about John Riggins, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't get tougher running backs than that.
You don't get tougher running backs. But, you know, the guys we had, those guys really would hunt the ball. And, you know, they were not great pass rushers, but they're gonna hit. They were very physical. And
very physical.
You turn the play in, they were gonna be there. You're not gonna be missing. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah. So for you, so what was the NFL like for you? I mean, you come in like that, it's a little culture shock, but this is a big stage, man, you know, and you're really playing at home. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was it was a blessing and a privilege to be able to play in the state that I grew up in. And I had just gotten married right after I graduated from college. I married Angie, and I were newlyweds when we got to Atlanta. And I don't know. I think it was our first preseason game. We may have played the Redskins. And I think I may have had 1.5 sacks, and Mike Pitts had a couple of sacks. And I was thinking, man, NFL's going to be easy.
It'll be easy.
We're going to get sacks every week. And,
I love it.
But no, it was not. It was. I don't know if I saw 1.5 sacks for the next 2 seasons. But yeah, I ended up playing through injuries. Just had a pinched nerve in my neck that first season, about 4 games in, and Mike Zealy, a tackle, had just gotten injured. So I was up until Mike Zealy got hurt, I was going in with the on passing downs.
Passing situations, right?
I said, man, this is a way to make a living right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Mike got hurt. Then I ended up being a full-time defensive tackle. But I mean, my neck would not let me. I couldn't do the headbutt thing anymore.
No more, right? Absolutely.
And that was really a blessing in disguise. Because of that, I had to learn to play without using my head.
Right.
And although it wasn't as effective as it was in college, I mean, I think I've been blessed to be a lot healthier now because of that.
Absolutely. See, it's amazing, man. The things that that happen, and we think, well, the world's coming to an end, or it don't work in our favor. I can't do this what I want to do. But when you look at the long picture, you know, it's like, oh, okay. Now I'm happy that I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, but it was very intimidating initially being in that locker room with those older guys, because they don't accept you right away.
Exactly.
They're gonna see where your buttons will push,
right,
and everything. And so that's why I was so grateful for you and for Steve Bartkowski and White Shoes and Stacey Bailey.
Yes, sir.
And that, you know, that team Bible study.
Amen.
That was my haven of protection with you guys.
Awesome, man. I tell you what, it's amazing, man. You know, it's just like this. It's like a relay, right? So, you know, my father's a pastor, so I was raised in the church, but I had no personal relationship with the Lord. Even when I came here, and thinking about playing for Coach Bowden, and I couldn't understand, what made me fall in love with Coach Bowden. And looking back, he was a lot like my dad, right?
Okay.
And so I didn't see all that in the beginning. But, Florida State was nothing. And I go there, and then, we start to rise. And then I was drafted by the Falcons. And so the first day I was in camp, Markowski put his arm around me and said, "Jesus loves you, man."
Wow.
And you got to think about it. This guy's a face of the franchise. He's a quarterback. I'm a former quarterback. And so, just for him to love on me like that, it was special.
Yeah.
And but I still hadn't made a decision yet. And so, and then, Shoes started to minister to me, and Bo Robinson was another one to start to, hit on me.
Yeah, but I forgot about Bo. He was all business.
He was all business. He was tough, man. I mean,
yeah, and his walk with God, he didn't play.
He didn't play, and then Wallace, was on the team at the time, and so it was a great locker room, man. But I started going to Bible study, and eventually, I surrendered my heart to the Lord Jesus, and I in turn turned out to be the same guys they were, right?
Yes, you were.
And so being a witness in the locker room, and being that guy, my arms around guys, loving on guys, helping guys, yeah. I mean, it was ministry. It really was ministry for me. I remember one day, Andrew, hearing the Lord speak to me so clearly in the locker room one day. I was walking through the locker room.
Yeah.
And I heard this said to me: "I didn't create you to win Super Bowls, to be an all-pro. I created you to give glory to my name." And when I heard that, it changed my life. And so then I became all he wanted me to be in the locker room, right?
That's powerful, because I do believe that if you would have been with a different team, you may have been an all-pro.
Mm-hmm. Could have been, yeah.
And
exactly.
you had to carry a lot on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Your time in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. So it was, and then we went through that stage in 19. I don't know if you were with us then. 1988. You went to Denver in 88.
Yeah.
When were you in Denver? Okay.
Yep.
88. That's
88, 89.
88, 89. And David Crudup passed.
Oh yeah, that was hard.
Oh, brother. You just don't know how hard that was. It's during the football season. He passed, and we had to deal with that. And then the next year, the following season in 1989, we had Ralph Norwood, who was a second-round pick out of LSU, offensive tackle. He got killed in a car accident Thanksgiving night.
My goodness.
And right after practice, man. It was right after practice. And they didn't find him until the next day. He was in one of those little ravines down there.
My goodness.
And then 2 weeks after that, we had a guy named Brad Beckman, tight end, got killed in another car accident. And all this happened during the football season. And so you can imagine the morale on the team, man. It really wasn't high, right?
Wow.
Nobody wasn't caring about winning any football games. Right. And then when
you needed what like they do with schools and everything, after a school shooting, you guys needed some professional.
We needed some professional help.
Intervention.
We did. And of course we didn't get that. It was like, all right, the next day we got to practice.
Right.
All right. And so we practiced, and then we got the game. Right. And then right after that happened, well, right before Brad was killed in a car accident, they fired Marion Campbell as the head coach. And so all that happened within a month. We lost one guy. They fired Coach Campbell. We lose another guy. Man, it was not a good time. It was not a good time. And so, but anyway.
You were there for a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was bigger than football. It was bigger than football, right? It was bigger than football. So let's get back to so after you leave Atlanta, you played in Atlanta, and we were always rebuilding in Atlanta, man. It's like every year, and you mentioned it, you said it, Dan Henning came in your rookie year. He was a new head coach who was the offensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins, who had just won the Super Bowl. Right. So he got a promotion and got a head coaching job.
Right.
And next thing you know, Joel Williams is gone. Right. Our pass rush is gone. Right. And next thing you know, he started to get rid of guys and clear the old locker room out, and we're starting over again. Right.
Right. So, it was really a team that wasn't broken.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I thought, right?
Yeah, If you had someone with that same, who wanted to run the same schemes,
that was the problem. That was the thing. When you changed coaching, you had a different defensive scheme come in, new defense coordinator, and right. he changed everything. And then here we go, right? And then I think, if I'm not mistaken,
it was a long, hard road.
It was a long, hard road because in '83. When Dan came in, we changed everything. And then I think in '84, that's when they promoted John Marshall to defensive coordinator. That was the first year he ever became a coordinator.
Okay.
So that was an experience. And then in '85, he was still there. We went from that to the bullet scheme that the Chicago Bears was running. I don't know if you remember that. In 1985, right?
I remember when we had so many guys hurt, we were practicing in sweats.
Absolutely.
I believe that was the year, and so we were going to be the Bears.
We was going to be the Bears, right? Without the personnel. and so we go from that to we hired Marion Campbell as defensive coordinator, who was the head coach at the Eagles at the time.
Right.
But in 1986, he came as an offensive coordinator. We ran the 3-4 again, right?
Right.
And so we went back, and then, that was a scheme I had to get used to in the very beginning because, they had the corners line up 10 yards deep. And I'm like, I'm not lining up 10 yards deep. That's like safety depth, right? I'm not playing 10 yards deep.
Yeah.
And then, Mara's a great guy, but if you got on his bad side, he can make you feel real bad. So he went off on me one day because I didn't line up 10 yards. He said, if you don't line up 10 yards, you're not going to play for me. So, of course, I had to line up 10 yards. But then when I gave the defense an opportunity and I started going, oh, man, this is pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. And then I learned so much from that staff. I learned because Fred Bruni was the DB coach. And he really taught me how to study film.
Right.
And I tell you, that made the game so much fun for me at the time.
Yeah, I think that was the 4-0 start.
The 4-0 start. That's right. Yeah. 86. That's right. That's right.
We had that start, and then everybody started getting injured. That's the year I broke my leg, and broke my leg in a 6th game. And the day we tied with the 49ers in Atlanta, I broke my leg in that game.
Wow.
And was out for the season. And so it went downhill from there. But anyway, I mean, so you had the opportunity to play with the older guys and all those coaching changes.
Right.
So in 1988, you were moved to the Denver Broncos.
Right.
A great franchise, right? A Super Bowl contending franchise with John Elway on one side. And you just had Dennis Smith, strong safety on the defense, right? So you had some guys. And so while you were there, y'all went to the Super Bowl one year, right?
89.
89. What was that like compared to where you came from?
Oh man, it was everything that I wish we could have experienced in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the city of Denver at that time, pretty much they revolved around their football team.
Okay.
And they had the Nuggets too, so that they had some good. They had a good former Gamecock, Alex English with the Nuggets.
Alex English, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, see, you and I know basketball because you and I.
Man, Alice Eagles was a bad boy.
Yeah, because you remember you and I were teammates on the off-season Crystal basketball.
Crystal Falcons. That's right. We played a lot of basketball. That's right. That's right. That's funny.
But just the whole atmosphere out there was different. I mean, the whole city, and that's what I keep hoping that Atlanta would be able to sustain at some point.
Right.
Is where the city embraces their team. It's just where there's just a culture where this is our team.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it was out in Denver, and they were way ahead out there as far as sports talk radio and things like that.
Right.
That really didn't become full time in Atlanta until a few years later. But it was 24/7 sports talk. I mean, every detail about the Broncos, it was being broadcast.
And then they were supported. And I know you got to win to get supported, but they were really supported. You know, I can remember during my time in Atlanta, a lot of times the sports writers and everybody, they'll be killing us, man. You know, it'll be so negative in the press. You know? Yeah, never uplifted at all. Never gave us a chance to do anything. So it was tough. And I do understand when you say culture, when you have a winning culture, because in my hometown, football is king in Delray Beach. And, you know, we always won, and we were always in championship games, winning championships, playing in championships. And then I go to Florida State, and we're still climbing, you know, at the top of the nation, fighting for it. And then you come to Atlanta, and, you know, for 12 years, and, I played on one winning team in 12 years. Think about that. It's tough.
Now, which year was that?
That was 91. Now, the year before you came, we did go to the playoffs in the 82 strike season. Right. But we ended up with a 5-6 record.
Okay.
All right. So we started out in 82, my second year, 5-2. And during the strike, and then after the strike, man, we just lost every game. And we went to the first round of the playoffs. We were 5-5 going into the playoffs against the Vikings. And of course, we lost that game. The first year they opened the Dome up in Minnesota. And we ended up 5-6.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that. What was your record in 81, your rookie year?
Our rookie year, we were 7-9.
Okay.
But the year you're talking about is Buddy Curry rookie year and Junior Miller in 1980. They were 12-4.
Right. Okay.
And really, in my opinion, and I wasn't even on the team at the time, I thought they had the best team in the National Football League. You know, being in college and watching, you know, Tallahassee was not that far from Atlanta, so we got a lot of their games, and so I thought they were very good. But you know, no cigar. And then in 1991, that was my 11th year. Was that my 11th year or 10th year? 11th year. That's when Glenville and MC Hammer and everybody was following us around. Evander Holyfield. We had that too legit to quit kind of theme going on. Right?
It looked like a lot of fun.
Listen, well, think about it. Jerry came back, and so you never played for Glenville. And so Glenville came back, and he's an energy guy.
Yeah.
He's always upbeat and very aggressive defensive minded coach. You know, he wants to blitz every down. He's going after you. He makes it fun. And so he's all the music blasting in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't even listen. I was an older player. I'm 32, 33 years old. I couldn't even stand in the locker room. I had to go outside pregame and just because the music was too loud for me, right? But you got MC Hammer in the locker room before the games, and he was a fun guy. He'll give every guy a dance. He said, "Now if you get in the end zone, this is your dance for the day." And he'll be MC Hammer be in the locker room dancing before the game, giving guys dances, end zone dances, right?
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, I'm so glad you got to at least have a little bit of fun.
We did have fun that year. It was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I mean, that you went that many years and continued to develop your craft and assist the younger players and be everything a coach would want through those types of difficult seasons.
Well, it was about ministry at that time for me.
It really wasn't about playing. And so, and I think that's the difference, because it was a different calling. Even though I was there playing, I was content in where I was, because at the end, in my 10th year, that's when they started to replace me on the field. I was playing nickel. I was more of a coach, just a team locker room leader. Me and Charles Collins, doing the chapel stuff, and I had responsibilities on the road with chapel. And back then, the chaplain never traveled with us back then.
Okay.
So he would give me responsibilities on the road to meet the speakers for chapel and things like that. And so it was really good. It was really good. And then just to be there for the guys, because one of the things I can remember, Andrew, which really blessed me. It really blessed me, and I saw God move in a lot of ways. Right.
Yeah.
The fact that how I remember being in the locker room, and all of them were kind of like ridiculed me, and they called me. Dion gave me a nickname, and my nickname was Reverend Pressure.
Okay.
They gave me a nickname, Reverend Pressure, and they'll always be mimicking like a preacher and Reverend Pressure, and I laugh with them, right?
Right.
But I can't tell you how often they would call me in the middle of the night to pray with them.
How about that?
About their personal stuff, because they knew they could trust me, and so it was all about ministry for me at the end. So it was a blessing to be there and see what God was doing, and he was doing some major things, because I tell you, when I retired and I got in the workforce, Cyril called me one day and said, Dion called and left a message on the recorder.
Yeah.
And I go, well, what did he say? She said, I'm not going to tell you. Just wait till you get home. You need to just listen to it.
Okay.
And so I got home, and he left this message on the recorder, man, and said, he said, Reverend Pressure, I need you to call me. I got to tell you about my newfound faith in the Lord.
Oh, my.
And Andrew, I cried like a baby. I just cried and wept.
Wow.
And so you see how God was moving, even when you think he's not moving, Yeah. And Dion and I were really close. I mean, we were roommates, and I just had the opportunity to speak into his life a lot, and so it was really good. It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah.
So listen, man, so let us know, what are you doing now? I know you went to school, and what do you go to school for, and kind of catches up with what Andrew is doing today.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I went back to school right after my last year in Denver, and I moved about an hour south of Atlanta down to Fayetteville, Georgia.
Okay.
And I was invited by Greg Brazina to come
serve. Greg Brazina.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah. So I was with his ministry for about 5 years.
Wow.
And he and I both together, the distance learning degree was just becoming available. So we both did master's degrees in professional counseling.
Wow.
Through Liberty University. And because he had a ministry that was really well respected, but he said, you know what, people need follow-up, they need counseling, that they need a track to run on after they hear what we have to share. And that was very appealing to me, because I needed to learn some things myself. And I thought, you know what, I could learn these things through this counseling degree.
Amen.
And then help others also.
Amen.
So I did that. And then Greg ended up moving to, I think, outside of Atlanta. His ministry moved to Lake Oconee out near Greensboro. But my wife and I, we ended up having 9 children total.
Amen.
Yeah, we had several in diapers. So, Greg, we can't move. We got to stay put. And, so I ended up as an adjunct counselor at different churches around Atlanta and counseling centers, and just doing different types of Christ-centered counseling. And then it was you mentioned Charles Collins, who was the Falcons chaplain for 25 years, and it sounds like when you were there, you were co-chaplains.
Yes.
Charles and Bobby.
He was my guy.
Yeah, but it was. January, February of 2012, Angie said, "You know what? My wife Angie, and by the way, every time my wife Angie hears the names Bobby and Sarah Lynn, her face just lights up." And,
hey, the same with us too, man.
but she said, "Andrew, this whole thing of you traveling around to these churches, counseling at all these locations, this is really starting to wear you out, and it's not really a good fit for our family, because we had a lot going on with raising our children." And I said, "Well, let's kneel down right here, and let's talk to the Lord." I said, "Lord, would you make it so clear what you would like for me to do, what would be best for our family? Make it so clear it'd be like a hit in the face. Just make it evident." And then Angie opened her eyes and said, "You make sure to tell the Lord that's your request, not mine." She said, I don't want God hitting me." And so anyway,
that's awesome, man.
But it became it was really quite that hit in the face was hit hard, because it was a few days later I got a call, and it was one of Charles Collins' stepdaughters, and because I saw his name on my caller ID, and I thought, okay, this would be a good pick me up, talk to Charles. And she shared that he had just been killed the night before.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm sure when you heard it, you could hardly take it in.
It was a blow. Yeah.
And so as Angie and I were processing that, she said, "Andrew, I believe that you prayed for a hit in the face." And she said, "I can't think of anything apart from losing a family member that would hit harder than this." And she said all these years we've been married, and I think we've been married close to 30 years in 2012. She said, "I've never been willing to be a part of a ministry where you have to go raise your support like a ministry." But she said, I believe the baton is being passed, and I think you need to take it from Charles. And if Athletes in Action, which is who he served with, will let us serve in Atlanta, she said, you have my blessing to serve. Because she said, I can't think of anywhere you'd be happier than working with football and athletics and your faith, your relationship with Christ. So I had to go online to see if Athletes in Action still existed. And sure enough, they had a website, and I got on the website and sent them an email saying, "Hey, I'd be interested in applying," and they got right back with me. And this is 10 years I've been serving in Atlanta with Athletes in Action.
I tell you what, man, AIA has been a great ministry over the years. I can remember going down to Daytona Beach with Charles, and with a group of guys, and we'll get down there and we'll play basketball during spring break on the beach in Daytona Beach, and witness the kids at the same time, right? And it was amazing that kids would give their life to the Lord. They're down there on spring break, to have fun, and then they meet Jesus.
They didn't know what was coming.
On their road to Damascus, right? I tell you, man, it was so much fun, man, just to see that. And then to meet other athletes, like Frank Wright was another guy that we met through Charles, Athletes in Action, ministered on the beach in Daytona Beach. So unbelievable, man, just unbelievable experience. Unbelievable experience.
Man, that sounds like you had some cherished memories with Charles.
Well, I tell you, I've been learning so much, and believe it or not, Andrew, I'm in school right now. And we'll talk about that.
That's wonderful.
I'm in seminary school right now at Luther Rice.
Man, you still look young enough to be a college student.
Hey, Andrew, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I don't know what I'm doing when I got books that look like this thick.
Oh my goodness, what is that about?
The Cradle, the Cross, and the Crown.
Oh my goodness!
New introduction to New Testament. So we'll talk about that, but man, yeah. But I'm in it, and at my age, I think it's too late, but it's not too late. It's in God's timing, and anything to do to get closer to Him, and
I'm excited where I am right now. I'm 63 years old, and I'm just excited, man.
That is exciting. And there were men and women a lot older than you that were called to ministry in the Bible.
Amen. A lot older, right? A lot older in the Bible. That's right. That's right. So,
but anyway, I know they lived a lot longer back then. But,
they did. And so,
but yeah, God, I can't wait to see what He's going to continue to do through you.
Hey, man, I'm excited, And so someone asked me, well, Bobby, what are you doing? I said, I'm just getting ready. Getting ready for what? Whatever He wants. Whatever it is. I'm getting ready. So that's my deal. So look, man, thank you for being on the show, man. We about run up on an hour.
Okay. But I need to take you to lunch though, so you can share with me the rest of
we need to do that one day. And let's do it soon. Let's do it soon before it gets too cold. Because I'm still a Floridian, right? I don't like the cold weather.
Same here. Savannah stayed nice and humid.
You're a beach boy too. That's right. You're a beach boy, basically, right?
Exactly.
And so, yes, sir. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for visiting with us tonight. This is our legend segment. And tonight, man, we had the great Andrew Provence, strong man of God, former teammate, just a great guy, great family. Angie, say hello to Angie for us.
And Sarah Lynn also. Hey, and audience, know that Bobby Butler is the true legend.
Man, get out of here.
I'm just on so I can spend time with you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be with you, brother. God bless you. Peace.
Peace.